You've seen them, right? The books, the seminars, the influencers. The self-help industry is worth billions, and it's all built on one simple promise: a better, happier you. But is it really a path to growth, or is it a trap? Today, we're going to unpack the promise and the peril of the whole self-improvement movement. Listen to this. It's a quote from a writer named Emily Goddard. And get this, she's not talking about a person. She's talking about her 15-year relationship with the self-help industry itself. It was a journey that started with so much hope, but ended with her realizing that this constant quest to fix herself was actually making her feel worse. And her story, well, it really sets the stage for our question today. So, here's the game plan. First, we're going to dive into why self-help is so darn appealing. Then, we'll peel back the curtain on its untested promises. From there, we'll dig into the pretty dangerous psychology of failure it can create, before we shift gears to a much healthier alternative: true self-care. And finally, we'll give you the tools you need to be a smarter consumer of all this stuff. Okay, first up, why are we so drawn to this? I mean, what is it about the promise of becoming a better version of ourselves that has built this massive global industry? Well, the scale is just wild. Think about this for a second. Around 5,000 new self-help books are published every single year. That is a constant flood of new gurus, new secrets, and new promises, all fighting for your attention. So what's the big draw here? Well, proponents will tell you it's democratic, right? Anyone can go pick up a book. For a lot of people, it feels like a cheaper alternative to therapy. It really taps into that do-it-yourself spirit we all have. But the biggest thing, it sells hope. The simple, powerful idea that you can change your life. Okay, but behind all that hope and all that glossy marketing, experts are sounding the alarm. They're saying there's a huge gap between what's promised and what's actually delivered. And here's the thing. This is really the crucial point. Unlike medicine or therapy, most of this advice is completely untested. As Professor Gerald Rosen points out, at the end of the day, these books are products. They're sold with a ton of marketing hype, and they often make these huge claims that have zero scientific backing. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. You know, when we're talking about our mental and emotional health, the stakes are incredibly high. Professor Rosen argues that this advice should be tested just as rigorously as a new drug. That's the only way to protect people from guidance that might not work, or worse, could actually be harmful. And you know, it's not even just about whether the advice itself is any good. There's another huge problem: actually doing it. Get this, one study found that only 20%, just 1 in 5 people, actually finish the book they start. So when that big transformation doesn't happen, who do you think gets the blame? It's almost always the reader, not the book. And this is where things can start to get really psychologically damaging. That feeling that you're the failure gets amplified by one of the core ideas in the self-help world, this relentless, non-stop focus on being positive, which, believe it or not, can turn toxic. Yeah, this brings us to a really important idea: toxic positivity. This isn't just about looking on the bright side. No, this is the denial of any feeling that isn't positive. It's that good vibes only mantra that basically tells you that real human feelings like sadness or anger or grief are wrong. And you can see the difference, right? It's huge. When someone tells you happiness is a choice, it can feel like they're blaming you, like your sadness is your own fault. It can make you feel ashamed. But a truly supportive response, it validates your feelings. It says, that must be really hard, which is the first step to actually processing anything. What this does is create this dangerous bubble where you're not allowed to question anything. Author Wendy Kaminer calls it a kind of fundamentalism. It's this classic catch-22. If the advice doesn't work, well, the advice can't be wrong, so the problem must be you. You're just in denial, and that shuts down any kind of critical thought. Look, this isn't just some theory. There's actual data to back this up. A study back in 2021 showed that when people try and fail to meet those super high, perfect goals that self-help loves, it actually makes them feel worse, like measurably worse. You can see it right there. Their mood, their self-esteem, their motivation, it all takes a nosedive. They end up in a worse place than where they started. So, if this whole fix yourself model is a trap, then what do you do instead? Well, the conversation is thankfully starting to shift toward a much healthier, more sustainable idea: genuine self-care. And the difference here, it's really night and day. Think of it like this. The self-help treadmill says, I'll be happy when I fix my flaws. Happiness is always somewhere off in the future. Genuine self-care, that's about self-acceptance, right here, right now. It's not about running from painful feelings, it's about learning how to sit with them. The goal isn't perfection, it's resilience. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it's all about building a toolkit of healthy ways to cope. Things like mindfulness, just noticing your thoughts without judging them. It means actively fighting back against that negative inner voice, setting goals that are actually realistic, reaching out to people for support. And the big one, practicing self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness, especially when you mess up. Alright, so let's bring this all together. How do we actually use this information? If you do decide to dip your toe in the self-help world, you have to go in with your eyes wide open. Okay, so here are some big red flags that experts say you should always watch out for. If a book makes huge claims but offers zero data, no sources to back it up, yeah, be skeptical. If it promises you'll be changed forever or claims to be the one single answer for everyone, that's a huge warning sign. Real life just isn't that simple. And this brings us full circle, right back to Emily Goddard. After everything, she came to this incredible realization. The goal isn't to be fixed. The real goal is to realize you were never actually broken to begin with. That's the real transformation. So, we want to leave you with this final thought. Look, wanting to be better is a totally human thing. But here's the question. In this constant, relentless quest to improve ourselves, are we forgetting how to just accept ourselves? It's definitely something to think about.